We are live. Welcome back to the show, folks. My goodness gracious. Thank you for joining us because look, you're busy people. Probably got kids and all kind of things running around. So if you don't know me yet, my name is Mike Asherbrenner, professionally known as the Redneck Connector, proud and humble leader of the Hounds of Business community. And this amazing lady too, this way, I think. Yes, on their screen it's this way. April Wyatt, she is extraordinary. She has been doing so much work behind the scenes with hashtag She Wins March, along with one of our special guests today, Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom, who hopefully doesn't get kicked out of the ball field, and so she'll be able to make it. All right, so let's get this going. I'm not. I'm going to go straight into this conversation because I have a feeling we could do 3-4 hours and no one would be tired or bored. What do you think?
Yes, we definitely have a lot to talk about and so many amazing women here today. So let's get to it, Mike.
Well, before we do that, we're going to give you a shout out. Speaking of amazing
Oh,
women, and make sure that folks understand, what you have. You have tremendous value, and I say this like a broken record, but it's okay. Because you know how people do events and then they're like, "Oh, this is great," but it's a lot of marketing. Nothing wrong with it, but when your folks leave an event, they don't stop talking about it. Right? It's constant. It's because the impact is so real. So
mm.
just share us a little bit because I want to. You got what 8 spots available or something,
No,
and
I only
who's
have
this for?
6 spots available now. So
Okay,
this is definitely a transformational experience. It's just not a retreat. Yes, you can go lay on the beach right there in Bali. It's in the northern shores where this resort is. Although this is about people who want to get away from the noise and really step back into themselves. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a professional, if you're somebody who's just has a lot going on in your life and you feel that you've lost that essence to yourself, for sure this retreat might be speaking to you. Anybody who is curious about travel, you need to get to Bali, right? So you
yeah,
have to be adventurous and also curious about other people and culture because we like to go off property and go on a waterfall tour and experience some of the local culture. So if that sounds inviting and you can see yourself there in Bali, you're already halfway there. So DM me, take a picture of that little QR code down there and get more information. We're going to have a live call actually this Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to talk about what we have in store for you and what our why is and why this is a different experience from anything else, and also highlight on the right side there, her name is Crystal Angwin, and she is actually from Australia, and
oh
she's going
neat.
to be one of our new support team, and she definitely adds a different flavor to this retreat. So please tune in or watch the replay. I'm here for anybody who's curious.
Yes, ma'am. And this couldn't come at a better time. We're going to be talking about a whole lot of great stuff. Regulate first, lead second. And a lot of these ladies, I mean, we have families. Right? They juggle so much. And so this is a really good time for these ladies to reconnect, go back, plug in, recharge, and they make a lot of great contacts, friendships, business things happen. So thank you. That's what I want to make sure because if anybody needs it, it's a career woman with a family and a 50 other balls juggling in the air. So thank you for doing that. Right. And then real quick, uh, folks, this is panel three. Okay. Panel three, week three live stream celebrating professional and amazing women. So we have a Zoom celebration. Hey, hosted by the one and only. You'll see her in a minute, folks. Lachelle Atkins, America's Supermom. She is putting this on. April, you have been such an instrumental part of this, representing the Hounds, putting this together. It's phenomenal. All are welcome. So, 2 steps here. Very simple. Share it with somebody who could benefit. This is not an infomercial, no bait and switch here. This is value, right? We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to have lots of connections, but it's all about the right room. That's what this is, folks. So, share this, show up, register. You'll be blessed by it. Come as yourself, leave as your better self, leave with some connections, right? Leave with some goodies. And we're going to have some massive giveaways too. So, right room, you got to be present to get it. So there you go, folks. And let me share this because I want to kind of give an interlude to this. This is going to be an action-packed, phenomenal panel. I mean, by just the experience and the brilliance of these ladies is just something that people could pay thousands of dollars for. So this is your show, right room, network with each other, ask questions. We'll do the best we can to put those on screen, be a part of this discussion. No pitch slapping with a P, right? If you're new to the house, not what we're about. But we're really just talking about, leadership is not just about clarity. It's also about stability. And we're talking about things like having vision, strategy, drive. But if your nervous system is not regulated, if things aren't okay here, which happens, we're human, leadership often becomes reactive. So that's what we're going to go beneath the behavior into the brain, body, emotional patterns, right, that shape and lead at home and work. Right, we're going to get down to it. So this is your all show. Don't no shy Nellies here. All right, we're going to break that if you are. And one last thing, if you enjoyed all of the things that you've been in, if you enjoyed the networking, if you enjoyed being in this orbit, right? Hey, I don't sell things. I share things, folks, like the Costco lady, right? So if you enjoyed all this, being in the right room, you love real conversations, real strategy and business growth, hey, pull up a chair, right? DM us. I'll put all the links in the comments. Send us a DM and say, how I'd like to learn more. All right, that's it. We'll put you in the right spot. But if if you sense something, it's like, how do I get to this party? Well, reach out to us. That's how you do it. So no strays out there, folks. So you ready to roll this intro? You ready to go?
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's get it done. I'll hit the button. How about that? You let me hit the button.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high-level, heart-centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Ashterbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
Oh my goodness, they're here like magic. How about that? So I'll tell you what, I'm going to give my little rendition. I'm going to make y'all blush as best as I can in about 10 seconds each. And then do me a favor, introduce yourself for folks who for some reason may be new and don't know who you are and who you serve. So let's start. I'm going to pick on this lady. Come on, Supermom. You already knew I was coming after you. Huh? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Supermom, can you hear me? She's still hitting buttons, so she's just smart. She knows it. All right, let's go to Dr. Rowe. I met Rowe. Dr. Rowe, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm trying to hold my excitement. Like, I love this panel. I just can't. So we met at PodFest. I knew you were amazing. I sat there. I enjoyed your company, and then I reached out when Women's Month because come on, hey, high level heart centered women. It was Dr. Rowe. And so that's how we got going. And then a lot of the guests that you have seen on this show, folks, were coming from Dr. Rowe. So we love you. We appreciate you. We had you on a couple weeks ago, Encore. Thank you for coming back. Tell the folks who you are and what you do, because you make an impact.
Well, thanks for that intro. I do hang out with some pretty amazing people, including you all. So, right, you are who the people you surround yourself with. And so, I have the privilege of some pretty awesome people. So I'm Dr. Roseann. I actually am regulation first and regulation first parenting. I actually own the trademark to it. What is it about? It's about putting your nervous system first in everything you do. And my work is largely around parenting, but I also work with organizations to teach them how to implement this in their organization. And I'm so excited that you're talking about the nervous system, because it's everywhere.
I had, we just kind of on autopilot. We don't understand ourselves, and then we do things. And this is why you're so good. I'll pre-order your book, and it's not out till September. But your bonus was worth it. Like, I was good with the bonus. I was like, man, one day I'm gonna forget the book is coming, right? Even my family was like, did you order a book that's not gonna get here till September? I was like, yes. And I got the email. I was like, go read the email.
Well, thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate that. It means a lot.
I'm a dad who cares about his kids, and they didn't come with an instruction manual. So thank you for writing something I can use. All right. And speaking of lots of kids, Supermom, can you hear me? All right.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So now that you're living outside, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm telling you, you got to get out of your comfort zone. So, but I'm used to chaos. It happens all the time when you have a large family. So I'm
Yes,
glad
it
to
is.
be here, excited for this conversation. These are some wonderful women that we have on the panel. So I'm looking forward to learning from them this evening. So, all about women. I think it's so important. A lot of the important topics we minimize, or sometimes we bury them, or we put them on a shelf to think that we can handle it later on. And I'm a testimony that that's not the way to do things. Overcame 13 years of depression, 3 hospitalizations, and now I am just a walking billboard about the importance of your mental health. I am a TV producer, podcaster, author, speaker. Any platform that somebody will give me to talk about our mental wellness, I'm there. So I'm glad to be here and excited for tonight's conversation.
You are a gem, my friend. And yes, I'm going to be picking on you because you love it. You absolutely love it. But Supermom, fun fact, I went on a live stream. I put my hat on years ago, had courage before confidence, and I got whooped. I got whooped, y'all. And then I didn't give up. And then guess what? The second experience was Supermom's show. And so she gets the credit or blame for what you see today. That's what I'm trying to say. So you send hate mail and love mail to Supermom because she did. She gave me that experience. And I said, you know what? I want to do that again. So thank you, Supermom. That's why you've been dear to my heart, and you have made an impact like the size of Texas. So thank you. And that leads me to another amazing lady coming through, the one and only Deborah Jackson. Birds of a feather. See, if I had sent any of these ladies a DM, they would have pepper sprayed me over Zoom, folks. I'm telling you, like, we're disenchanted. This had to come from somebody going, hey, I know he looks funny, but dadgummit, he's got a bunch of stuff. And Deborah did that. Thank you, Deborah. And you are fantastic and phenomenal. So please introduce yourself and let the folks know who you serve and what you do.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Mike. And yes, I'm so grateful my colleague Deborah Jackson
Mm.
connected and aligned all of us. I think that it's wonderful when people can come together and pool knowledge, share wisdom and expertise, and accelerate success and high performance, whether that be your personal lives or your professional lives. This is a good thing. So it says a lot to those of you who've come on to this show live that you're open and willing and receptive to have access to what we're about to share tonight because it matters to you. I'm a mom of 8 and a wife of 1, and and I thought that was a lot until I met Supermom here tonight.
Right.
I thought that
Number
that was
two.
abundant, and 3 grandchildren as well. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, pretty much since I was in Pampers. Owned my own companies, wrote several best-selling books. My passion is people and finding ways to add value and contribute through the messages that were meant for the many, not just the chosen few. And I'm grateful to be able to align with products and innovations that make a difference and impact people. Their health is their wealth, and they will trade their wealth for their health. So I'm very passionate about that, as well as providing insight for folks that supports their professional development so that they can experience the life they imagined sooner versus never.
Absolutely. And you are number two. And that's not, usually you win with the 8 kids, but look, Supermom's got the Atlanta Falcons in her house. 15 is a football team, right, gentlemen? There's gentlemen in the audience supporting you ladies. We get to do that in June, maybe. Don't tell nobody. So I'll tell you what, I'm gonna throw it out there. I want to cover the foundations. And we're gonna start with the lady who literally wrote the book and the trademark. We're gonna start with Roe. All right. And chime in if you like to chime in, but I'm gonna ask all of you, Dr. Rowe, here's the first question. Uh, what does nervous system dysregulation actually look like in real life? Like not clinically, but practically.
Yeah. Well, even though we're hearing so much about nervous system dysregulation, emotional dysregulation, these aren't clinical diagnoses. Really, what it is in the real world is you're either over or under reacting to things maybe you shouldn't be. And so it's when we start to feel maybe petty annoyance, more than we should, or we're bubbling up and getting irritated, or we're having a hard time sleeping, or we're zoning out. Those are signs of understimulation, the zone outside, and then overstimulation, the irritation, the agitation sign. And really, they're just clues that we need to regulate ourselves and it's not as hard as we think it is.
Oh, I don't know what she's talking about. I've never done that. Right? Look, watch the comments go to 55. Like, come on. Look, Supermom's like, really? I've known you for years. So, ladies, pop in, chime into that, or from your own, because you all bring a different perspective, right? So
Definitely.
it's not right or wrong. That's why I chose you, ladies, because you
Yeah.
come from a different angle. Supermom, you have really, I love your story because it's the realest. 13 years of depression,
Mhm.
down, and then to pull yourself. I know what that means. I've done it, right? A lot of
Mhm.
folks have done it. And a lot of folks want to do it, more importantly, right? And a lot of
Mhm.
inspiration. A lot of people are going to take steps from this talk. So there's your question. It's same one, but what does nervous system dysregulation look like? The practical, right?
Well,
Not just clean.
and I'm glad you bring this up because, for me, I feel like I was functionally depressed. So I was the person that was still getting out of bed. I thought depression was somebody who stays in bed and doesn't want to do anything. However, the anxiety, the stress, overwhelm, burning the candle at both ends, not getting any sleep, I had all of those symptoms that really were living in survival mode. So the fact that I was accomplishing things while being in that state, really, I think is what kept me there for 13 years. Because I thought, well, this is just how it's supposed to be, let alone being an only child trying to raise a family of the size that we have. So, I think a lot of people get to the point where they ignore the signs, or, they take an aspirin because they have a headache. They don't think about, I've had this headache every day, or this headache occurs whenever I'm doing X. And so it's really just the point of not knowing yourself. I really didn't know the signs my body was giving me because I was still pushing beyond the signs. So I think it's important to highlight some of these things so people can start shining the light on some things that are triggers or maybe reoccurring things that they're stuck in, and realizing that they have the power to change that, if they just get with different people, or sometimes just do the inner work on themselves to change the situation. By the way, I feel like I'm a news reporter on site. You know how it's like the people are out in the field? I'm a field reporter today. This is hilarious, okay?
You are.
People
How's the
are
weather out
looking
there?
and they're like, what is she doing?
Yeah, Supermom, can you tell us the weather right now? Yeah. All right, so you are phenomenal, and I wish
Back to
April
you,
would
Mike.
host. I wish April would host because I want to be a part of the discussion. So, uh, well, Grace, anything to chime in with that and your own, experience?
Sure. Oh my goodness. I just love that. I'm feeling like I'm coming in from the field.
That's
Supermom,
funny.
that is hilarious. Uh yeah, I think what I've discovered is that it's regular to be irregular. there are so many there's so many things that are happening and tugging on our lives at any given time, that there is a technique that I like to use, and this is a communication technique. This is a presence technique. It's called ABCD. I loved your sign as you were introing earlier, Mike. ABCD technique. This has my attention. So I'm seeing a shift within myself. I'm seeing a shift externally of myself. So whatever is happening right now, this has my attention. Now, and even if you do this, you'll be able to remember it. You'll be able to lock in this concept. Attention. B, breathe. Sometimes when there's a lot happening within us or externally, we don't take full deep breaths, or we hold our breath and kind of clinch. So B, breathe. C, count 1001, 1002, 1003 in any given situation. And then D, I get to determine how I'm going to respond to this circumstance or situation. How am I going to respond to this person? How am I going to respond to this inner thought? So this is a quick reflection strategy that I've used with myself, with my children, and I've even taught this to colleagues, because sometimes we, as Supermom was saying, we functioning in depression, or sometimes it's a sweeping under the rug, or I'll get to this later, or I just don't have time to give this any attention. And and it takes away from the gift that we are ignorance, and it's not ignorance, it's ignorance, we're not showing up in our greatest expression. We're not really giving from our overflow. We're probably giving from empty. And that is not a sustainable strategy. So, those are just a few thoughts that were coming to mind as I was hearing the ladies share their perspective and brilliance.
Absolutely, because when I thought of you on the show, I thought experience. Like, it's not your thing, but you've been through it, right? Everybody hears from the teacher, but I like to hear from the student. Somebody who's just like, yeah, I went, what the hell, And so, Dr. Rowe, let me go back to this because I find this intriguing. I hear this theme constantly, and I hear it on the show today: self-awareness, right? That's kind of what sticks out, because I know the day that I pulled my head out of the sand and it said, hey, you have a problem, it was the scariest. I mean, I was terrified, but that's why we do maladaptive things, right? It's why I drink and all this stuff. But the day you do that, and for me, it was the catalyst was, I don't want to pass on generational baggage, right? Because we're talking about a lot of parenthood here. This is part of, and you can't teach what you don't know. So I was more scared of passing that on, and my daughter's growing up to be more of a train wreck than, so I want to touch base on that because I know there's a lot of folks feeling that way. You ladies at some point were able to go, hey, I'm going to face this. But that's so hard because we feel broken, weird, guilty, right? We feel shamed. Like, well, if I open this up, then, people are going to think I'm terrible and, right. So can you address that? Because there's a lot of people that no matter how good your playbook is, no matter how they're just, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I was talking to a young adult yesterday who was stuck. And I think, Lachelle said something so amazing that you probably didn't even realize, and kind of wanting to dive into that and unpack that is, when these things build up, they almost never happen overnight. They just start happening. You start feeling muscle tension. You start avoiding things. You start having from 1 glass of wine to 6 glasses of wine at night. You binge watch all weekend next Netflix. You don't take care of your internal garden. And once you realize, oh my gosh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm this, whatever it is, it feels like a summit. It feels like you have to get to the summit of a mountain. And I think what we in America do, probably more than anybody, is we think, right? I actually have a magic wand in my desk. We think that there is a magic wand. So most people think, well, if I'm not actually at the top of the mountain, I'm a failure. And we have to unpack, we have to be different. We have to say, I'm taking that micro step. The power is actually in the little moments that teach your nervous system to be calm, to regulate. It doesn't just turn on. You can't take a pill. These are things that we do that create capacity. I talk about the nervous system as, a cup. And so, you have a stress cup and little things go in it all day and fill up, but you can actually add things back in. And so by teaching our kids this, by practicing this and showing the people around us that we practice, we can really counter when people struggle. Because, when you're talking about, I mean, Lachelle will share her story and what it was, but a busy life, having kids, all these things just piled in there. Wasn't like somebody, she got robbed and then all of a sudden she was depressed, or there wasn't a single thing. It was everyday life activating your nervous system, and she wasn't taking care of her garden. And the moral of this story is little things you do make a huge difference one way or the other. So why don't we take micro moments and build that regulation to relieve some of the stress that is really crippling our society?
Okay, I want these ladies to chime in, but I have to get this in. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I
Please.
love that analogy about the summit because, I was an only child. I was a high achiever, and I was raised with the attention and accolades around honor roll and gifted classes and all these things. So then being a mom and not getting that feedback and that recognition, I just didn't know my identity. And I think a lot of times as women, we feel like we're supposed to have all the answers, and then we don't know how to ask for help. We sometimes can't even verbalize. When you're going through challenges physically or emotionally, there are no words to sometimes even describe how you're feeling, you're thinking, in a way that makes sense to people. So, being able to take some time to reflect and have that ability to know yourself and know what your triggers are, know what makes you happy, what makes you upset. These things are very important. And taking that time to be intentional. I love what she said about the micro moments because, no one is going to tell you to do these things. You have to make time to do them for yourself. And so finding the right people that you can connect with. And for me, when I got back home from my last hospitalization, it started with just simply deciding that I wanted to be happy. Now, happy is not going to be happy things every day, but it gave me a mindset shift to where I understood that I could pack happy moments into my day whenever I needed it. And so from there, I began to understand that, I can't blame other people for my situation. It is up to me to be able to fill my days and moments with the things that I need when I realize through what Grace is saying, that attention of seeing that, hey, something's not right here. And then making sure that I'm the one that addresses that. Because if you wait on other people, which I had done in the past, I'm ended up in the hospital. So I think that's a very important point to bring up.
Holy mackerel! Well, before I tune in, and real quick, for me, it was like I get a paper cut and complain for 3 hours, and then I saw Russ Hedge, right, overcome, the stage 4 and all of this, and I'm like, okay, if you're grumpy and he's not, it's a choice. It is a skill. You can learn how to overcome it. Is it easy? No, it sucks. But what sucks is staying in this state. You don't have to stay here, right? The hard work, yeah, it's going to lead better. So, Grace,
Yes, I value, everything that has been shared thus far. I think the micro can become macro, as you were sharing earlier, and how one of the techniques that I apply and I've been teaching for years and doing my best to model is a technique of self-coaching. And that's where I'm asking myself quality questions that support me to extract um, higher level thinking. Um, bring out the best expression of myself. So I ask myself who, what, when, where, and how questions on a regular basis. I also ask myself distinction questions. Distinctions accelerate decisions. So I look at the opposite and I ask myself often, okay, we use this as an example from Supermom, does is this giving me life? Is this giving me energy? Is this making me happy? And if not, what would make me happy? What would bring me joy? How do I prefer to feel on a daily basis? What kind of example do I want to be for my children and future generations? Is this hindering or helping? So distinction, to being able to identify the opposites, to be able to quickly make a decision of, most people are so clear on what they don't want out of life, and they complain about it, and therefore they get more to complain about, and they get more of what they don't want out of life, versus being super clear what we prefer to experience and what we prefer to be our life story. And it's not always grand, and we're as long as we're taking action each day, or being mindful each day of our preferences, we're so much more likely to get there. People are so clear on what they don't want, but haven't really invested the time to identify what they would prefer. So I love that Supermom is at a track meet, because it's her daughter's, she has kids in this track meet, and she found a way. We can either just complain that this is the situation, or we can be a show host for the day and show up anyways. So those skills I highly recommend, because you carry yourself everywhere you go. And that is always the more beautiful answer for the more beautiful, always the more beautiful answer for the more beautiful question. I hope that will bring value to people.
Oh, I'm not messing none of this up with my isms right now. No, no. What I'm going to do is a smart thing. Go over here to Dr. Rowe and say, "Hey, Oak Tree, would you like to tie this up?" Because I
Yeah,
imagine you
I mean,
probably,
I
yeah.
think there's so many pearls in here, and you know, we are talking. We brought in a very heavy topic of depression, and what is depression? It's the nervous system shutting down, and so thinking is not what they want to do. Feeling is not what they want to do. We have to get them to reconnect to their body and start small. And when you are stuck in any way, shape, or form, you have to start as small as possible. And that's where those little actions, as Grace so beautifully said, can turn into macro actions. And I just want to really encourage people, like, pick one healthy habit if you're having a hard time and literally do it every day for 30 days. It will add up, and when you're feeling very overwhelmed, which 48% of parents in America are feeling overwhelmed, and 41% feel that they're so overwhelmed that they're immobilized, that means you're depressed, you're anxious, and these are clinical issues. So starting small is where you need to start. And I just don't want to ignore the overwhelm. But all of these are beautiful things. And we can tell, you know, what Grace is really saying is, you know, about our mind and what we choose. And we really do have a lot of power in our mind. And we could tell ourselves good things and our brain will believe it, or we can tell ourselves bad things and things that aren't true, and it's going to believe that. And that's really powerful. And it's a little micro action that, you know, every single person can do, right? But I also want to say, we women, as Grace said, I mean, as Lachelle said, we are the CEOs of our families, and we run, we don't walk, and we are prone to burning out. And so don't neglect yourself, and you don't have to, like, yes, I go for a massage every other week. Yes, I go and do all these things. It's the micro things. So, like, don't say I don't have time for that. You have 10 minutes. You could hide in the garage and do some breath work. Or you can get your kids to do it with you, and you could have crunchy granola kids like I do. But devote that time to yourself, because I have to say, I know that when my child was in a mental health and medical crisis, I ignored myself and I knew better. And now that just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter how busy I am. I carve out time to reset my nervous system, and it's no big deal. It's easy stuff.
I wanted
Oh,
to add to that too, because during the pandemic, I had 7 kids that were e-learning at the time. And we had mental health days. I just told their teachers, hey, nobody's sick. I'm here. At the time, my husband was working out of state. So I was there with all the kids, and he was coming home on the weekends. But helping them to understand what a mental health day is and talking about it, so that they can understand that, you don't have to necessarily be sick with the flu or something like that to still know that you need to rest, you need to take some time to decompress and, really talk and get in tune with yourself. I think that is also important. And also during that time, I wanted to have something proactive for my kids because they were saying that, they're going to have social issues, not being with other kids. So I created an acronym for a smile, which is one thing you could give away and still keep for yourself. And it talks about 5 pillars that we need in our mental wellness, and it's sleep, mood, inner voice, laughter, and energy. So when you're taking those micro moments to even have that conversation with other people that you think are a little off, these conversations are around, have you been sleeping lately? Where they don't really feel threatened, but they're able to kind of check in with themselves with things that they might not have even paid attention to. How's your mood been? I noticed that you just haven't been in a good mood today or yesterday. Is something going on? Because you can be in a rhythm and a loop that you just can't see yourself out of. But it's those moments when people actually give you that awareness or draw attention to some of those things that you realize, man, that is true. And you start really checking in with yourself. So I just wanted to add that also.
I love that. Hey, real quick. First of all, Supermom, tell everybody to be quiet and that you're on an interview. Can you do that for me? Go do that. Tell everybody to stop having fun. And number two,
I know.
50%.
Put them in line, okay? You
Yeah,
know,
there you go.
I am the field reporter today, okay?
Well, I'm being much easier. Last time she was at like shopping at Christmas time. Well, I gave her hell in a handbasket on that one. Here's the thing. I love to see men. You know, the Hounds has over the weeks and even today we have men, right? And they're not here to be weird. They're here because they're supporting their women, right? They work with women. They got wives and everything else. So one thing that I noticed by being enlightened by these panels is a lot of times women are just going to go, right? Like sense of urgency, sense of duty. You know, I got to get the kid out. I've got to get it done. And we got to sit back and go, okay, either we can grumble about that, right? Like, why didn't you get it done? Or, hey, honey, I got this. It won't, I promise you. I don't want to do dishes either. I don't want to have to do the kid thing. But you know what? I'd rather have a happy wife and I can do it once in a while. And that's so support each other. If you see that in her, go do that. All right. And don't do it for something. I'm talking to the guys. Y'all like, don't do it for like, oh, I owe you one. Just do it. And that was it. Hey, honey, you done a lot this week. Why don't you go hang out a little bit? I'll take the kiddos off your hands. Didn't even ask. I just took them out. I come back and you thought she was on the beach, right? On the couches. But that's what I mean. And so thank you guys for showing up, you know, because I love this and pass it on. So I tell you what, since we already mentioned parenting and I'm going to throw this out there and you can even modify this because y'all are just on fire, right? So how does reactive parenting, because there's a lot of people, a lot of kids, a lot of business, a lot of stuff. How does reactive parenting mirror reactive leadership, or does it? We'll start with Dr. Rowe. We'll pick on her.
I'll go.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a lot more alike than we think, right? So whenever somebody's reactive, we know that they're in their autonomic nervous system that manages our stress response is in a sympathetic dominant state. It means they're activated. So we're in the highest levels of activated, we go into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So when we react in I always call it a viperish way, a cobra kind of way, it means they're dysregulated. So whether you're in parenting or you're in leadership, you're going to have either power struggles, right, with a kid or another employee. You can have disengagement. I mean, who's been at a job where you had a highly reactive boss and stays? And it creates a culture where people really struggle because you're always afraid of setting that person off. And the same thing is said with parenting. And when it comes to parenting, we're teaching our kids to react in that same way, right? They have to mirror what we are doing, whether we like it or not. And I always say, never should be perfect parenting. You should be 80% awesome. And then the 20% of the time, you have to repair. You have to be like, well, that was silly. I shouldn't have done that. Sometimes it is an apology, but they're much more alike than we realize.
Oh my gosh. Like the other day I said, my oldest just turned 13. And so she found potty words. And I'm like, I don't like this. And my wife is looking at me like, potty words. And so now I'm like, okay, as much as I love potty words, I better get rid of it because I don't like it, right? But I can't sit here. I won't be hypocritical. I won't say, you don't do it. And then I'm just going to cuss like a sailor. So don't have kids unless you want to grow. Because, I mean, honestly, if it was just me, I'd probably just be who knows where. But it is important to me and a lot of folks I want to level it up for me now. It started with the kids. Now it's for me because I deserve it too, right? And that's another thing. Ladies, you deserve it for you. It don't have to be for everybody else. Maybe you start that way. But yeah, and so please chime in. Grace?
Yeah. I really appreciate what you share because I think that really is a true thing. I would say if you talk to some of my kids, I probably was a reactive parent, because I have such an age gap between the oldest. The oldest is 36, the youngest is 12. So I'm sure I went through a lot of evolutions with all those kids. And now, my grandkids, they probably think, they think I'm the best thing. And I'm like, hey, I made so many mistakes. But I think just being open to being present and strong enough to get feedback from your kids, asking them the hard questions and understanding that you don't have to have all the answers. Being able to be in that space is so important because there's so many things that are changing at a moment. I mean, these kids have different languages, they got different technology. It's just hard to keep up with everything if you don't have a connection and a relationship with it. So I think just being willing to admit your mistakes and talk to them about that, that's the best model that you can have because not everybody is perfect, and giving yourself grace. No pun intended, but you need to give yourself grace because you're not going to have all the answers. Every child is not the same. They're not going to have the same friends, the same experiences. And so when you are open to learning from them, just like you're teaching them, that's when things will turn around for you. So give yourself some flexibility and really get to know each child because not everybody beats to the same drum. So taking the time to really foster and nurture those relationships with each one of them, I think is also important with that.
I love that so much. What was stirring up for me was being quick to listen and slower to speak. A reactive parenting or reactive leadership is quick to talk, quick to, as Dr. Roseann said, like the viper, the cobra coming out at you. So again, how can I how can I give this person, how can I give myself and this person um a willingness to ponder, that when emotions are high, our logic can be very low. And when our logic is over high, our emotions are out of the picture. We don't care how someone feels. We're striking, we're attacking and non-intentionally. So with our kids, even being willing to recognize, when is it time to lead? When is it time to follow? When is it time to mentor and give feedback? Or when is it time to ask and to receive feedback from them? How are we really listening to them? Or and how are we listening to our own instincts in this moment? So reactive leadership is a quick way to lose friends and have a very challenge influencing any person. Reactive is when we say and do things that we wish we could take back, but those words have been used and weaponized, and it's not about an erasing opportunity. So when something happens in leadership, I always say, how can I ask for a moment? I'd like to, you've shared something that's pretty important here, and I'd like to pause, time out, take a moment to reflect upon that before I give you feedback, before I respond to this situation. So the opposite of reaction is a thoughtful, mindful, heartful response to what has just transpired. And I believe that that is what is going to be essential to continue to align and connect and communicate with our loved ones. And you're right, Lachelle. I apologize to my older children. I have 8 as great kids. I apologize, and I said, "Oh, forgive me for I did not know." You all didn't get the version that these younger ones are getting because I'm still learning, and I apologize. And at the same time, I'm hoping to continue to be able to improve in the way that I am showing up as a mother and as a career woman.
Oh, that whole pause and let me reflect or wait. I thought at first I was like, well, that's weird, but it's not, because what you just said, I have experienced. If you react and strike and all of that, it causes more problems. I've never seen it cause better problems. It never took problems away, right, Roseann? Very few. Like in respond versus react. When I catch the same fish over and over again, he's reacting. The fish brain's like that big. I was acting like a fish for most of my life, I'll be honest. Then when I stopped and thought about it, that right there, just that pause, just that the reflection could really make a difference, right? And wow, we can go on forever. Dr. Roseann, before we do, because I got a question for you, but would you like to cap this off?
Oh, I have this book coming out, and I'm just in the back smiling so much because a big concept in my book is something called the love pause. And it's about giving yourself 3 minutes, 3 seconds. That's it. You just need 3 seconds. It's a long time. And, you can use that time to reset yourself. You can use that time to lean in and show connection to others. We don't always have, like you all said it. I mean, you don't always have to have the answers, whether it's a colleague or, you can just be there and be present, which I think is really almost feels like a special thing in this world where we're
It does.
having devices and we're on Zoom and so I think that I love that so much. And don't think it's not as powerful as it is, because it is.
I want to add to that too, because I think, when we don't take that time to pause, we react out of routine and habit. When you pause, then you're able to decide that you want to do something different. Just those 3 seconds. So I think that's important too, because as a mom and as you get into routines of doing things a certain way, you can just respond the way you've always responded. And as you continue to unlearn things, it's important for you to be mindful of where these things are that you need to unlearn. So when you take that time to pause, you can decide, what, I normally do this and I'm going to do this now, and it feels uncomfortable. A lot of times we can react quickly because it's familiar, but what's familiar may not be the best reaction. So I just wanted to add that also.
I am
And
learning so much right here. No, real quick, I'm learning tons. It, like I always have respect, but I couldn't relate to a lot. It's like when I respected my wife, but when I went to in the delivery room, whoa, I was like, wow, that's a lot more respect. I feel that way with this because the interactions, hearing you all ladies be so open, because one thing resounds the most, you care. So a lot of times with me and men and other men, we take that, oh, why she did, because it's not aggression. It's yeah, I need, it's that whole overwhelm. It's we take it that way, but it's not that way. It's because you care. Because if you didn't care, you just leave or something. Right? So I want people to know that. Like, don't look at that and go, oh, why is she grumpy? Like, hey, what can I do to support her? She's grumpy because he's helping you, and I can't find my socks. She's looking for the socks on top of 16 other tasks on top of her work and her business. You're right. Like, and I love that because it's not really a gender thing, it's people thing, but we are different, right? In a lot of ways. So I just had to chime in and say that because I am learning so much. I just run in the house and be a better guy. Like, thank you. But go ahead, Grace.
I was just gonna to align with what Lachelle as well as Dr. Roseann had mentioned. I was thinking about how when we with a love pause, well, we can also ask a love question, meaning this is a question that's coming from curiosity, because usually when it sometimes what's happening is we're reacting and they're striking and we want to strike back, that people become accustomed to the striking versus we can interrupt a pattern with a curious love question in the moment that get that maybe we don't have an opportunity to pause in this moment and that they want to just hash it out in right now. So I encourage you to ask that curious loving question that is in the moment with the person that we're with, and ask, maybe it's, please, can you give me a little more clarity around that, or can you give me a specific instance where that took place, or you know paint me a picture of what you're seeing, versus it. And that's where I was coming from, is I wanted to make sure that yes, there's times there we call for a pause, but then there could be times where rather than when we feel the urge to strike, we transition into a loving question. That would be my feedback.
Bravo. All right, because I'm gonna keep y'all till midnight, and I don't think you got time for that. I know Ro doesn't have no time. She's like, nope, you lucky you get 8 o'clock, boy. I told you 8. So let's see. Let's go to Dr. Roseann. What's the biggest misunderstanding leaders have about emotional regulation?
I think when we hear the words, emotions, right? First of all, leaders are afraid of the word emotions, and feel like there's going to be a lot of big feelings coming out. But I think when we talk about emotional regulation or dysregulation, we're starting to learn, and that's why this conversation is so important, that it starts with the nervous system. And even if you're at work, and you have employees that are prone to emotional dysregulation, please know that, yes, we're adults, but this is happening at maybe a level that's they're not aware. And so when you see these behaviors showing up, this is why we need more nervous system regulation at work and teaching it, because it is creating conflict, because we are moving to a very dysregulated society. Adults, kids, there's no distinguishing anymore. And yes, this is a very American issue, but it is affecting people across the globe. And for sure, what we want to do is always create spaces, especially like I loved Grace's idea about curious questions and loving questions, because we do have reactivity places and people do have conflict. I mean, people talk to me about this all the time. When people are heightened, it is not a great time to have conversation, because the nervous system is not going to allow rational thought. Once you're ridiculously activated, fight, flight, or freeze, your frontal lobes, your decision making brain goes offline. But I think what leaders need to know about emotional regulation is it's the epidemic of our society, the dysregulation component of it. But there's more that we can do to help create regulated workplaces.
I only smile because I thought about, me and my wife been together 24 years and we'll still occasionally like two gorillas just go at it. Like we know better, but we're human beings. Like our brains just change, the midbrain and
Mike,
stuff.
why are you not just doing what she says? That's the problem.
See, that's the problem. When I quit doing it and go all, Donkey Kong, then there you go. Um, but let me
I'm
ask,
just kidding. But my husband always says, yes, yes, honey, whatever you say.
right? Well, in a lot of things, I've learned that it doesn't matter. Like there was a comedian, not to get in the weeds, but a comedian talked about it, and he talked about how disagreeable he was. And just listening to that comedy show, I sat back, I said, you have been a little gargamelish in the last couple of weeks, right? Because she would like, let's go out to eat, but she would be this high pitched voice, and I'm like, so I just said, yeah, and she almost defended, like she was like, well, what did you say? Yes, I'm like, yeah, why not? It blew everybody's brain. They're like, oh, daddy was gonna, say no and all this stuff. And I was like, sure, let's go. And I put a smile on my face. They're like, okay, is dad on something? Like, but you know what? I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And if I didn't enjoy it, why can't I let them enjoy it? Why can't I enjoy them enjoying it? This is what we're talking about. Stop being a fish reacting to stuff. Yeah, is it easy? No. But is it worth it? Hell yes, right? So real quick, because I wanted to get to these ladies, but you are just uh, how does regulate, connect, and correct? How does that apply in business environments?
Yeah, I mean, so basically regulation is the path to everything. You're not going to be able to connect. People aren't going to be able to receive feedback or learn. That's what the correct is about, until you're regulating.
Mm,
So you can start that process by being regulated, because co-regulation is when people borrow your calm, right? And we know this as parents. When we got it together in the 80% awesome, we're like, oh, that went better than I thought. But this is also in classrooms, this is in workplaces. And so know that connection and learning are just not going to happen, maybe at all, unless you focus on regulation.
wow. Yeah, I love brilliant academic brains that actually lived it. All of y'all are just so on point and believable. I hope seriously, I'm going to do everything I can to get this out, because I know so many lives will be touched. So many women and men will be like, wow, okay, it's not just me. Because we think it's just us. We're the only ones that have issues and changes. And like Goggins says, we're just other people just better hiding it than we are. It is the truth, is it not? And that's why we do this, because it's okay. Well, I got problems. They just hiding it. We all got problems. Anyway, let's go to Supermom, because woo, birds of a feather flock together, my friend. So you battled depression for 13 years. How did that affect your leadership, and what shifted when you chose recovery?
I think the thing for me is removing judgment.
Mm.
Coming from a high achievement background, high performer, I felt like if anything was done right, it had to be done a certain way. I was very particular about things following a rubric or a blueprint and things of that nature. So when I learned to give myself grace and also understand that the things in my head were not always true, because I would think things and believe things about people and maybe what their response was going to be. And I never even asked them their own opinion, because I was in this negative thinking. And so I think when you are challenging your thoughts with facts, that's a good thing to kind of start beginning to do because, I was really my own bully. And so I learned that I had to be honest about a lot of my expectations. And, that was driving me to feel like I had to be perfect in everything and burn the candle at both ends. And, instead of asking for help, I'm just trying to relearn a whole bunch of stuff that I'm not gifted at instead of just asking somebody and trusting. But I just had this fear that I had to have all the answers and know everything. So for me, removing that judgment allowed me to uh, give other people space and grace. And it just took the pressure off, you know, took it off.
That constant resilience. That's what I see, and I hear you talking about. So, what is that resilience actually looked at like day to day?
I think it's just really being present. You can't be resilient if you are not fully grounded. I mean, being able to show up. There would have been a day I would have been like, oh my gosh, I can't be on camera. I'm at a track meet. What are they going to think? But I've learned over time to include my children in my brand, hence the name America's Supermom. Now I feel like, I struggled with thinking I can't have a career and be a mom. I had to choose between one of them because I couldn't do them both. But now that I'm able to embrace fully who I am, I feel like I can show up and, hey, this is my life. My kids are here with me. So I think that allows me to be resilient because I don't feel like I have to be a certain place, be a certain way in a certain place. I can be me everywhere I go.
Okay, look, I'm Roseann, uh, Dr. Rowe, ladies. I just got an idea. I want to translate the brilliant, eloquent things you say into redneck speak. That would be so. Here's what I heard Supermom say. Supermom says, "Stop giving a shit about stuff that doesn't matter anyway." This would be a fun show. Like, let the ladies talk. We'll push pause and then see what the redneck can translate. Right? Well, I guarantee you, we'll have 50 million rednecks watching this. It'll hit a lot of people. So I love that. So let's go to Grace because again, Dr. Rose said we ain't staying till midnight. We'll come back. So Grace, this is one special made for you, my friend. How does faith anchor emotional steadiness in chaotic moments? What role does that?
Well, yeah, I mean, belief, faith, and certainty. It's interesting that um, I believe that every thought that we project and every statement that we make is a prayer. And so it's like that we're asking for more of that or more of something similar. So being very mindful of my having faith that being mindful of the message that I'm putting out there is valid and important. Um, I think also when it comes to faith, it was interesting. I had people in a business setting that would tell me often their limited beliefs. They thought, I'm going to save you the pain of something not happening. So I'm gonna try to fix this for you and tell you in advance that don't get disappointed if it doesn't work out. And it was funny because again that ties in your faith. of believing that it is done. And they would say, oh, Grace, it's not done until it's done. It's not done until the contract is signed. And I said, oh, yes, it is done. It's signed in my mind. It's actually signed in my shower every morning. That contract is done. And when the contract became done, they were all hip, hip, hooray, and cheering and excited. And I was like walking in with this certainty and faith, knowing that it was, if it was meant to be, it would happen. And it's not on my timing, it's on his timing. And that I'm going through things to be able to learn those lessons, to be able to transfer that experience and knowledge, that what, it's not the roadblock that's before us that matters. It is our willingness to work through that roadblock, our faith that we can overcome any circumstance or situation. That is the key, my friends. So having that certainty every day, and having the faith that, what, I'm not going to do it perfect, but doing it is more than not doing it at all. Perfection is a quick way to sabotage our success and our gifts. It's a very accelerated strategy and weapon working against us. So I know that was several thoughts in one big question, and I feel like, gosh, that
Oh,
could have been hours, Mike. That could have been
no,
hours of
no,
topic.
no. I'm sitting here going, you have no idea. Like, we're not getting into the me hour or nothing, but you're absolutely right. I mean, Dr. Rowe, ladies, and I'll close up with this one. I'm going to go very stoic again, but here's what happened. I was going through something very similar, anchored by faith, but I hated it. Everything just stinks. I was like, this is the end. Oh my God, all this catastrophizing. It was a serious business. And then something in my head said, you've been through this before. Think back to the stuff that was so catastrophic and life ending, right? That you now look back and have gratitude for, that you wouldn't be here with who you have. And I said, you know what? I'm going to anchor. And then something after that recently happened that validated it. So I was like, I'm not full of crap. Like that's the truth. So the question that I have, and I love what you said, because when I heard the theme, why wait 10 years to have that aha moment? What can I do, not to force, but what can I do to compress that time frame? Like find the lesson. And that's what I did. I said, I don't need to wait 4 years to go, oh, I'm grateful. Let me figure that out sooner. And that takes faith, intention, learning, growing. And that's why we're doing this. You ladies are absolutely all heart and brilliance. And I love you all to death. So, so much that I want to keep you, but nah, I can't do it. So let me throw it this way. We're going to pick on Dr. Rowe again, since she loves that. She's a leader. All right. So give one practical tool that somebody can use this week to regulate before reacting. A lot of people out there may not know. So tell them, show them, whatever you want to do, go for it.
Yeah, well, we talked about my love pod. So just give yourself grace, give other people grace, and pause for 3 seconds. And in that 3 seconds, you can do nothing. You can just sit there, you can breathe, or you could use a technique. But it's really an amazing tool that you shouldn't underestimate.
Okay. Speaking of tools and books and resources, you do not, if you get shy, the hounds get mad. You saw that
Yeah.
last time. Tell them where to
Yes.
go, what you got.
So you can find me everywhere in drroseann.com. You can find my Top 1% podcast, which has 2.5 million downloads. They're called Dysregulated Kids, and my book, The Dysregulated Kid. You can find information there too.
Do it. Even the bonus blew me away. And your newsletter today, I forwarded it straight to my wife. I was like, download this, print it.
Oh, thank you. That means so much.
It does, because I had to weed through 900 emails that I did not ask for and did not want. But thank goodness there's one I did. Thank you. So let's go on to Grace. Grace, wait a minute. Whoa. Supermom, did they take you away, or are you in your own car?
She's in the car. Supermom's
I'm in the car, but yeah, go
Okay.
ahead and go to
I didn't know
Grace.
if you got removed for doing the weather report at the park. That's what we picking on you about. Go ahead, Grace. Look, your turn.
Yes. So one thing that I think that we can be mindful of this week and to begin practicing is it having a sense of purpose and a meaning behind what we do. So for example, a purpose could be I'm gonna do something that models a best practice for my children, or I'm gonna have some type of reason or meaning behind my activities and be mindful of that. So have a why, have a reason for yourself, and then find ways each day to live out that reason and make it a reality.
See, this is not stuff that you just wrote at a coffee shop to sell things, y'all. This is what I mean. Like, this is the connect with these ladies, go check out their resources. They're not going to bother you. You go read stuff, absorb. And then when the time is right, lean in. That's the whole point. And speaking of no dog catching all bug zapping right here, super mom. I behave very well. And I know you're a smart lady. You're say, wow, Dr. Roseann, she make that guy behave, doesn't she? So you got it. Even April's like, yes, thank God for Ro. So take it away, my friend. What is that tip, tool, and baby step that someone can take to really get started on this journey? Because it could be scary.
Yeah, I would say journaling, taking some time to write down your thoughts so that you can really be an observer and take it from a vantage point. When we have speaking from experience. So when you're able to put those thoughts on paper and really look at them, it allows you the opportunity to, again, decide how you want to show up, what you want to look like in the lives of the people that you're around. And so this will allow you to do those things in baby steps in a way that you feel that you can handle transition with some of those things. So getting some paper and simply writing out those thoughts.
Well, other than Women's Month and coming to experience, your ecosystem, we're kind of your guest on that platform and this whole collab. Where else can people go to tap in and find? You got a ton of things. So where can they go find out and tap into your stuff?
I'm fortunate enough to all the work that I've been doing is people can just Google me, because I have
There
been
you go.
everywhere doing all the things because I feel like, depression is an important topic. It's taboo for a lot of people, but it's so important to raise the conversation everywhere you go because it is something that everybody can struggle with, men and women alike. So, and even children now that we have this situation with the pandemic, post pandemic, social media, all these different things, it's important for us to be comfortable to talk about our mental wellness.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness gracious. And you said journaling and about everything. Let's bring April up because she's going to be like, I've been telling this guy this for like 2 years, right? And she has been an amazing guide and I warned her. So hopefully she's ready for this. This last time I just snuck her up here and she's like, oh no. So are you ready? Let's bring her up. There she is.
Hey, this has been such an amazing event, ladies. I'm telling you, everyone is just like, what? In the comments, and we could continue this for sure. We'll have to definitely have you back. You are the special 3, seriously.
Oh yes. Yeah. We got to make sure I'm going to pull some strings and say, hey, y'all, other people get this out of here because this will impact so many lives. This was so spot on, y'all ladies. Deborah, again, thank you for the introduction and, to Grace. Supermom, thank you for, liking Redneck. I don't know. I mean, you have been an instrumental part of our lives, not just mine. And it's an honor to get back together and do things. And Ro, my goodness, we may not have known each other that long, but it feels like in a positive way, like we've known each other for a very long time because I feel like we made a big impact together already. And it's been phenomenal. You all are amazing. April, here's my soundboard. That's that's the Redneck soundboard. You deserve that. You are absolutely phenomenal. And thank you. That's all I got to say. Here's my takeaway. We'll close. Mental wellness, not optional. It's infrastructure. Strong families build strong leaders, right? And regulated leaders build strong teams, right, Ro? So this is it. If this conversation resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Go check out the websites, reach out, have that courage before confidence, right? Stop hiding it. Stop feeling alone. You're not, okay? People aren't judging you. They want to support you, but you have to go out there for them to see that and know that, okay? So support the May event we got coming up, and I'll post about that. We got Women's Month coming up at the end of the month. Tap into that. You've got April's retreat. You got Rose books. You got resources, all right? Do it. because the world needs you. Once you get leveled up in your best self, you can make an impact, and look around. The world needs this. And last shameless plug. Hey, no strays out there. If you need people, resources, and support to get that done and move forward, hey, that's why we exist. That's what the Hounds of Business is. Right room, right people. All right. And we are flying high. We're getting elevated because we are not joking. I want to leave a legacy that outlives me, and I'm not alone. So, ladies, love you to death. Folks in the comments, and Sam, when you mentioned journaling, I know Eco Sam went crazy because she told me I had a hard. I bet she did. I didn't even look. And I was like, she told me, she's like, hey, go sit out with the sunset and journal. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like Ice-T now. Remember Ice-T used to be gangster in the 80s, but now he was hanging out Betty White, drinking tea. That's me. I can't have street cred anymore. But you know what? I'm joking. I'm happy. I'm living, and this is a dream. So, ladies, thank you for all you do. We will see you on week 4, final panel. All right. This is going to be leadership. Oh, you don't want to miss it. My goodness. It's just going to keep going from here. And we will see you on the next one. So, April, would you like to hit the outro button?
I sure will.
You do it.
Well, everyone, and take a breath.
Y'all. Thank you. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.